Hey, y'all. This is Frank the Bigfoot, and you're listening to the Paranormal Punchers.
Hey, friends. Welcome to Paranormal Punchers. I'm Mark.
I'm Alicia.
I'm Nash.
I'm Dave.
And on this episode, first, Dave, welcome back from the Hollow Earth.
Yes.
Good to be back.
You fixed those servers?
Somewhat.
Okay, good. Yeah, the technology down there is kind of weak.
Yeah.
Kind of shoddy.
On this episode, we are going to talk about Summerwind Mansion, the, I guess, very haunted mansion that located in Wisconsin on the West Bay Lake. It's also burnt down, but there's a lot of stories that about it. This was a listener suggestion from Sean Z. Sean, I think a year later we're finally getting to it. So, but do appreciate the suggestion.
Thanks for holding on.
Yeah.
Before we get there, we got listener feedback. We also have a couple shout-outs here. I know, Nash, you met somebody that listens to the show, also has a business, and you're going to say something now.
Yes. I want to give do it now. I want to give a huge thank you and shout out to Ryan. You know who you are, Ryan? Ryan works down at Sly Tom's down in the Gap, PA. He brought us some lovely hard coffee.
And what is Sly Tom's?
Sly Tom's, I believe, is a beer distributor, liquor store, something along those lines, where they sell the best hard coffee and alcoholic slushies. If anybody's into alcoholic slushies, yes. Yeah, and so I just want to give you a giant thank you. We're all enjoying some really nice coffee, quote-unquote coffee right now, which reminds me a lot of Yoo-Hoo, just with a little adult spice in it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so your friend gave us these Pabst Blue Ribbon spiked coffee.
That's right.
A bunch of cozies and some other stuff. Does that make Sly Tom's a sponsor?
I hope so. I that's what I'm going for. That's what I'm working towards. I hope so, because this is fantastic stuff. And Ryan also he told me another little factoid that was kind of out of the blue, and that every once in a while on the show, you can hear something in the background here in the P-Puncher recording studio.
Ghosts?
Well, no, you hear a little puppy dog in the background.
Yeah.
Not
so little.
And so I want to give a shout out to Lulu the puppy. She has a boyfriend, Dingo. Dingo is Ryan's dog, who every once in a while you hear Lulu speak up in the background, and Dingo hears it, and he perks up every single time.
That's so cool.
He hears Lulu.
It was so difficult for me to not say, ate a baby.
That's right.
Dingo ate my baby.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
difficult not to say that.
So thank you, Ryan, for coming by. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Keep coming by.
Lulu, do you have anything to say?
Nah, she's
all right,
working
good.
herself.
No.
Yeah.
Speaking of sponsors, little shout out to Parabox, ParaboxMonthly.com. They have a very cool thing going on here where you can get monthly subscription. You get a T-shirt, and then with that T-shirt become this mystery. If you can figure out the clues that are on this card you get in the box and also in the T-shirt design, if you can figure it out, you figure out a password. Then you can log on to the site to get more mysteries about the topic. It's super cool. The designs of the T-shirt are awesome. I really think
they look
all
really
the T-shirts
good.
look amazing. And if you use code PUNCHERS, you can get 10% off your subscription order.
Nice.
So go check it out, ParaboxMonthly.com. And thank you so much for being part of the Paranormal Punchers squadron.
That's right.
Squadron. Hashtag Team Pudding Skin.
That's right. FTW, baby.
Now, as always, we kick things off with some listener feedback. Now, we also have listener stories for the second half.
Ooh.
So a lot of fun things to get to, but I'm going to just jump right in here with some listener feedback brought to you by Living Among Bigfoot, the only book series about Bigfoot that drops the 15th of every month on Amazon.
Yep.
Lish.
They're really good. They're so good, guys.
awesome. we are the very best.
We're the best at book
reviews.
That's right. That's right. Top notch.
All right, we're going to kick things off here. We got a message from Indiana Johnny. I came so close to being done with Paranormal Punchers today when I was subjected to hearing Nash hitting on one of my all-time favorite movies.
What?
Twister is so amazing.
Oh, no, it's not. It's terrible.
Yeah. I absolutely love the movie. I have decided not to rid my life of your podcast, though. I figure I shouldn't punish the rest of you or even myself for the sins of Nash.
Oh, wow.
Nash.
The rest of you are doing a great job.
Wow.
Keep it up.
Wow. Nice.
And Indiana Johnny also said, want to see if you all do make the road trip that we're talking about to stop in his neck of the woods. That's South Central Indiana.
Nice.
Thank you, Johnny. I hope you're doing well. Let's see. We heard from Dan in response to our Villisca Axe Murder House episode. He gave us a couple tidbits, some things here. I'm not going to read the whole email, but he says, some things I have read suggested that the mirror was covered so as to not add reflective light to what might be visible from, the lantern or a fire that may have been unsuccessfully set to obscure the crime.
To further hide what was happening.
Yeah, I'm
basically.
assuming if you cover the... so
Right.
what he's saying, they might have covered the mirror so people wouldn't see the reflection
Shenanigans.
flickering. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he says, the book, The Man from the Train by Bill and Rachel James, claims that this was just one of a series of axe murders committed by a German immigrant, Paul Mueller, who was traveling the rails across the U.S. and Canada. He would travel around. Some young girl would catch his eye. He would hide in the house, slaughter the family with their axe in the night, mistreat the young girl, the remains, then try to set fire to hide the crime and disappear on the next train.
Wow.
It is possible he even returned to Germany when anti-German sentiment rose during World War I and later committed the very creepy and similar Hinterfeck murders.
Okay.
That's
Nice.
an interesting...
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta check that book out. So it's by, it's called The Man from the Train by Bill and Rachel James. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate that.
Wow.
We heard from Mr. Anonymous, if you guys remember. That was, he shared a story with us on the last episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
He says, hey, buddy, I listened to the show this morning. I am not trying to be a little pudding or anything, but I got all mushy hearing you guys talk at the end of my story and hearing someone support me and not pick with me. It really helped me out. Thanks, guys.
Hey, you're welcome.
Mr. Anonymous, hope you're doing all right. And
Yeah.
this show, you could definitely share your paranormal stories. We are all, believers.
Definitely.
We've had experiences. So, yeah, this is a place to share it. And we heard from the always awesome Candace. I hope you're doing well. I appreciate that you guys are open to hearing your listeners and their stories. I know that was hard for Mr. Anonymous to share his story. That's really cool of you to share it, too. P.S. If the Paranormal Punchers happen to ever take the show out on the road, I'm sure I could find a place for you to set up here in Central Virginia.
Nice.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Candace, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We heard from Kane. This was a great episode. This is the first episode I've listened to from your podcast, but I will definitely continue to listen from here on out. Kane's referring to the Villisca Murder House. I've also been to the Axe Murder House a few times and spent a bit of time there by myself.
Ooh.
It is legit scary. I also took an original brick during the remodeling process when I was young and stupid. I'm
no.
positive something negative has plagued me ever since.
Oh, wow.
Take the brick back. Get rid of the
Yeah,
brick,
Kane,
man.
I'm curious if you've taken... What have you done with the brick? Definitely take it back.
Take it back. Do something. Oh, my gosh. Get rid of it.
We heard from Jonathan N. Oh, you going to say more about the brick, bro?
I was going to say take it to church and put holy water on it or something.
Hey, that's it.
Yeah, exercise the brick. That would be a little weird, I guess, to do at church, but, whatever.
We heard from Jonathan N. Absolutely love the podcast. I listen to you guys out on patrol to make those 12-hour shifts go by so much quicker. Check out the Lake Ontario Monster. It's right down your guys' and gals' alley.
Aw.
Thanks, Jonathan. Stay safe out there.
Lake Ontario. Is it like a serpent-like monster, or is it like
I imagine it's
I don't know,
probably
look it up,
something
bro.
like, Loch Ness or whatever. I think all the lakes around, like up in the Great Lakes or
Yeah.
whatever, I feel like there's always some kind of story or,
something going on
Yeah.
there? We can look into it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jonathan. We heard from the official psychic medium of Paranormal Punchers. That would be the always amazing Rhonda Del Baccio. And she says, hey, guys, thanks for the shout-out. No, Mark, I did not purposefully use a big word to trip you up.
Well, it depends on the big word.
When so many small words will do.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, look at
That's
you.
exactly what I said. Thank
Back
you.
from the Hollow Earth and sassy area. Oh, okay. She says, I'm just a word nerd, and I forget myself sometimes. I often find myself talking back to the podcast, even though obviously I know you can't hear me. So here are some of my thoughts. Hashtag pudding skin.
Yep.
Do you suppose we can make this thing trend on Twitter?
Wow.
She shared it over there. That would be cool.
That would be really cool.
All right, so here she goes on her thoughts on mirrors. Mirrors can serve as a portal from the other side. Consider that in Judaism, the family covers all the mirrors in the house with black fabric so that the dead are not. I think this might have been a what do you call that? A spell
Oh.
thingy, because it says
Autocorrection.
Autocorrection. Cover the mirrors in the house with black fabric so that the dead are not apt to Han to the home and can move on. I don't know what Han has to do.
I'm
Maybe-
assuming like stuck there. is
Yeah.
my
Well,
guess.
no. Well, apps to Han with a capital H-A-N, as in Han Solo. But I'm sure it was an autocorrect.
Yeah.
So let's see. Nash, yes, demons and other spirits can use a mirror to access the realm. Hope that's helpful.
Pudding skin. For the win, baby.
So I think autocorrector. Would you stop it? Autocorrector. Now I think she was saying that they cover the mirrors so they don't get like trapped in there.
Right.
That way they can move on to the afterlife.
Because the way I understand it is that mirrors can be like a two-way coming and going for spirits to come into a place through a mirror and go back through the mirror as they're leaving.
Okay.
So I would imagine if you cover it with like a fabric or something so they can't get through,
Okay.
that it either will keep whatever is in the house or not let something into the house that's in another realm or something.
Okay.
I still wonder, like, what's apps to Han? I feel like I could do something with that.
Maybe a haunt or
Dead or not, apps to Han.
apps to
Or
haunt.
not apps to haunt
Yeah.
the home and can move on.
Yeah.
Okay. Still think we got
Just
like
stay
a TV
in the house.
show, like delivering appetizers to Han Solo. That'd be like a fun TV show right there.
Yeah, well, he's in the cantina before he shoots.
Sorry, Rhonda.
Yeah.
We love you. You're awesome. She does finish up here by saying, not saying my thoughts or opinions matter any more than anyone else's. But for those in the community who don't know me, I'm a psychic medium. My PP episode is number 57.
Yep.
And Rhonda is awesome. Go check that episode out, and you'll find some information about her and some links to more great stuff she does.
Definitely.
The official psychic medium of Paranormal Punchers. Let's see. We heard from Adam Nuri on Twitter. In the case of the Valeska, mirrors are doorways between worlds.
Okay.
Cover the windows and mirror to prevent the souls from escaping. Sounds pretty vengeful to try to damn spirits to this world on purpose.
Well, yeah.
All right. So you bring them in and then cover them up so they can't leave. Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
That would be crappy.
Yeah.
Unless you're into that. I guess you could be into something like that. I don't know.
It's just kind of sadistic.
You're right, exactly.
And we heard from Charlie. Hey, guys. I've been listening to your podcast for a while, and I'm currently listening to the one about the Valeska house.
Oh.
I actually stayed the night in the house for a few years ago in October with my aunt, sister, cousin, and mom.
Oh, wow.
We did experience some things while we were there. Footsteps throughout the house, and noises that weren't from them. Very creepy. The axe marks are still in the ceiling in the parents' bedroom.
Oh.
During the tour, before they left us to stay the night by ourselves, they explained that they suspected that the person who murdered their family hid in the attic for a while after the murders, and may have possibly hid in the attic of the barn on the property before he skipped town.
Wow.
The attic was accessed through a door in the back of the parents' closet. It is very uneasy feeling in there. Another theory is that someone that they knew that was close to the family probably could have been the murderer.
Right.
Love listening to you guys.
Aww.
Thanks, Charlie. Appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Staying in the barn after the fact, I guess. I mean, because nobody knew what had happened until somebody checked on the house. So there was a couple days between. I don't know if it was a couple days or maybe a week or so. How long do you think it would have taken?
I thought it was like literally the next day because
there were
two
kids
kids having a sleepover.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, but he could have committed the murders, went back to the attic, tried to figure out his next move.
Right.
Wait for night.
Right.
Or wait till the neighbors went to sleep. I don't know. I'm just making things up.
Right. Huh. I don't know.
That's my job.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
sorry. I didn't mean to take your job. In response to a post we had on Twitter, we heard from, or is this Instagram, the Hey Nerd Chick. They want to go investigate
Oh, yeah.
this place, and we replied that would be interesting. And then author Brad Acevedo, author Brad, he jumped in with Road Trip, and the second stop will be Lizzie Borden House.
Ooh.
You guys want to crank out the Valeska Axe Murder House and then right over to Lizzie Borden?
Oh, boy.
Sure, it'd be a good time all across.
And then the Hey Nerd Chick said she's in. And Lizzie Borden has an ace. Gave her mother 40 whacks. I think that's axe. Lizzie Borden has an axe. Gave her mother 40 whacks. When she was done, she gave her father 41. Thanks, Hey Nerd Chick.
Wow. That's a rhyme I think will keep my head forever now.
All right. The rest of it we're going to save for the listener story section.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone. Hey, if you want to be part of the show, just send us a message, paranormalpunchers at gmail.com. Or maybe I should also register Paranormal Pumpers. Considering I just botched saying Paranormal Punchers at gmail.com, or go to our website, paranormalpunchers.com.
Oh, yeah.
That's a left turn.
Yeah, that
Paranormal
was.
pumpers, but they help you they follow you home from a site and you stop for gas.
You're really going to run with this?
and they help you pump the gas. They're like,
Oh.
I just need to gas up. Could you take care of this for me?
It could be like for birthday parties, Paranormal Pumpers. We inflate spooky items for the party.
Yes. Okay.
See?
Okay. Here we go.
Oh,
Nice.
God.
Dave, whatever you're laughing, I don't think you should say what you're thinking, bro. Nope. You should just leave it there.
Oh,
All right, we're going to move on to the main topic here. We're going to talk about Summerwind Mansion in Wisconsin. Lish, why don't you help straighten everything back out, get us on the rails, and point us in the right direction by kicking off this segment?
Okay. Summerwind Mansion is a home that is West Bay Lake, Wisconsin. It's like right on the shores of that. It's considered Wisconsin's most haunted house. But it's actually it's formally known as Lamont Mansion. And that's what everybody around that area knows of it as, Lamont, not Summerwind. Summerwind came with one of the later owners of the house. But anyway, it was built in the early 20th century as a fishing lodge. And Robert Patterson Lamont, in 1916, he purchased it at that point and started renovating it. It took about 2 years to renovate. And even when they moved in, the maids told them, the mansion is haunted.
Quick note on Robert Lamont.
Mm-hmm.
He was a millionaire.
Yes.
He bought this because he thought he would make a great summer or just vacation spot. He was he became President Hoover's Secretary of Commerce.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, so he had big plans for this mansion.
So during the 15 years that the Lamont family resided there, they experienced a vast array of strange and weird stuff that happened, but really what drove the family away from there occurred in the mid-1930s. Okay. One evening, the whole family was sitting around the table eating some dinner or breakfast or whatever. They were eating some food. And the door to the basement flew open, and this apparition of a man materialized out of thin air. So Lamont grabbed his gun and he shot at it twice. The bullets actually went through this figure and then lodged into like the wall or the door, I think.
Okay.
And the figure either disappeared or went back down into the basement. The family left after that. They were like, nope. So I imagine they were, because I didn't find anything like as far as what things were happening to them, but I imagine things were going on. They just, it wasn't, this was the moment that pushed them out.
This was like the telltale.
So you're saying there could have been like stuff like that they just wrote off as the house settling or things like that.
Things like that.
Yeah, when the door opens and you see a full body apparition,
that would do it.
you might want to, at least it didn't utter, get out.
Right.
Now, my grandma always told me the story that she lived in this house in Middletown, Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. Similar thing. She heard footsteps coming out the basement door. Now, she had this happen several times. But in this one instance, she was sick of it. She opened the door, yelled, "George, knock it off. I'm trying to get some sleep." But I was like, Grandma, well, number one, you're a badass. Number two, that would be freaky to hear someone coming up the cellar door and start to open the basement door.
Right.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, I think it would be easy to grab the gun and just start firing because you would assume it sounds so real.
Right. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but this was like a newly built house in 1916?
Well, they bought it in 1916.
Oh, okay.
But I think it was built before that, and it was meant to be kind of like a lodge on the lake.
Yeah, when he started renovating this, he expanded it far beyond the little house it was.
Mm-hmm.
He was making this. Well, he had money, so he's making this like an awesome vacation home,
right,
for his family.
And they didn't know, but it didn't have the age. I mean, what I had found was that they didn't understand why, because the house itself was relatively new.
Right.
Why it was haunted. So I don't know if there was like a burial site nearby, or I don't know what had happened, but there were ghosts in this house on essentially a new built place.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That was what was.
Well, but the land's been there long before.
Right.
That structure was built.
No, and I
you
feel
don't know
like
what happened on that land.
That's exactly right.
there's an owner of the house, like years and years later. There's something that we'll bring up about this.
Yeah, Nash.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry.
But so they left, and I think it was basically abandoned for a while. But it was sold to the Kiefers in the 1940s, and they owned it until like the 1960s or whatever.
Okay.
They never lived in this house. They had it as more like a rental, like a summer home or whatever. And the Mrs. Kiefer, she would never go inside. So I'm not sure, like, there wasn't a whole lot about, like, what she experienced, but, like, she would not even go in. Like,
she might not have ever gone in. She might have been like, yeah, I heard the stories. You know, I'm good. I'm good on the lawn.
Yeah,
that's
so like
fine.
Whenever people would come and like to rent it or whatever, she would come on the property, hand them the keys, but she would never go inside and show them the place or anything. Like, she did not want to go in there.
That's a pretty cheap rental.
Yeah.
You know, you can't even do a solid walkthrough. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So in the 1960s, Mrs. Kiefer actually sold the mansion a few times, but each time the buyer, they couldn't keep up with the payments. Like, there was always some kind of like, so it would come back to her, and I'm not really sure how that works.
Well, and that's a good question. So maybe, I mean, the laws would have to change now because it's like it doesn't revert to the previous owner.
Right.
It goes back to
Like, it should go to the bank.
Go to the bank,
right? Right. If there was a mortgage involved, maybe there was no mortgage involved and she was trying to sell it outright.
Right, like rent to own or something. I don't know.
She financed it, she financed it herself.
But anyway, so it kept going back to her. And I think even...
That sucks.
Yeah. Like she just couldn't get rid of it. She wanted to. She couldn't get rid of it. But in the early 70s, I think her estate was finally able to sell it to Arnold and Ginger Henshaw. And this is there's a lot going on with them. So I don't know if anybody
I feel like
wants
the Henshaws really kick off
right.
a lot of the tales of the paranormal. Almost kind of like, when they moved into the Amityville.
Right.
Like that family had a huge amount. So it was like the summer of 1969.
So my wife was born.
And now the mansion was like vacant for 40 years, but Ginger Henshaw, once she saw the house, she felt she just had to have this. This is the house. So they bought it. So her and her husband Arnold and their kids moved in. I don't know the kids' names. Did you got anything?
I don't have the names of the kids, but I read
Mary.
some that was like 4 kids and some that was 6 kids. Either way, they had a lot of kids with them. So
that's what you did on the weekends.
Right.
And she wanted to start remodeling this place right away. Start paying it up, making it look awesome. She had to do this.
She wanted a dream home.
Yeah. She was having massive trouble with getting contractors and people to come out to help. They didn't want to be there.
No, so they also experienced a lot of like bizarre things that happened. Like they would hear strange sounds and voices. Sometimes when they would have people come over to try to do some work on the house, their tools would disappear.
Right.
They would have electrical problems. There was even like a window, like one of those old-fashioned windows that you literally have to put your weight into, like to open. It would just open on its own, and then it would shut on its own.
And I read that even like they'd hang wallpaper, it'd be up one day, next day it'd be back down.
Oh wow!
Well, and when they were taking measurements,
Which they could have just messed up the glue.
Yeah,
that doesn't make it paranormal. Yeah.
But they were saying like even when you took measurements of a room, the room measurements would change size.
But that was
her
dad later.
Oh, see, I'm
sounds like some dimensional shit. Don't jump ahead.
I'm sorry again. Oh my gosh, I'm ahead of myself.
Don't cross through the pudding skin just yet.
I'm poking my head through.
Did you find anything about her finding blueprints to this house in like a closet, and then she unrolled them and it rolled up within the blueprints? She found an old peace pipe.
Okay, wow. So I found something completely different.
Oh, go ahead.
In the closet that they found.
Oh, no. Yeah. They found that, too. But did you find anything
No, I
that the
didn't.
blueprints, they had a peace pipe wrapped in it?
No.
No.
Tell us
Go
about
ahead,
the peace pipe.
please.
That was it.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So there's a peace pipe in the blueprints?
But it already starts to sound like, uh-oh.
Indian burial ground?
Where do we build this house?
Yeah. So before I get to the other things they found in the closet, they actually saw shadow figures and the ghost of a woman that was like floating back and forth, like in the dining room.
The lady in white? Wasn't she like in a white wedding dress or something like that?
You know what? I don't know what she was wearing, but I imagine that's probably what it was. But her friends were even over, Ginger's friends. And they encountered the ghosts and left the house and never came back. They were like, we're not coming back.
Right. Yeah, I found an article here written, the family members began to see a lady in a white dress dance around the living room during the dinner hour.
Oh, boy.
That's when you do it, though, right? I mean, that's what we do during dinner. I don't know what you guys do during dinner.
Just the sentence itself, it seems pretty casual. Like, I guess you'd be like, hey, turn off the TV. It's time for this ghost to dance as we eat dinner. That'd be so weird. That dinner theater right
show.
there.
Yeah.
Woo. That'd be scary.
The hot water heater and the water pump, they would break down. But when they would call like a serviceman to come out, it would fix itself like before they even came out. So that was a little weird. There was one time when Arnold's car burst into flames all by itself one day.
As they do.
Yeah. But they were abandoned by the crew that was coming to help. The crew was like, we're not coming back. So they ended up taking over, like, both Arnold and Ginger. They started doing their own repairs.
Right, they
and
did it
whatever.
themselves.
Yeah. So one night, while they were painting a closet, Arnold found a hidden crawl space, like in the back. When he opened it up, he couldn't get quite in there, so he had his youngest daughter, Mary.
Which is what you do.
Yeah,
Right.
I can't fit in there. Let's get the youngest
Yeah.
daughter.
Kid, she's the youngest. Send her in.
He sent her in to investigate to see like what she could find, because he could see something, but he was like, I'm not really sure what's in there. She found the remains of a human skull and a handful of black hair.
Ooh.
Yeah. What did they do? They left it there.
That's what
They put it back.
Yeah.
You know, but maybe that's not such a bad way to
Right.
look at it.
Yeah.
They had a feeling
Maybe
that
be
something.
like, you know what? We should put that back.
Yeah, don't touch it. Don't. It was there. Don't mess with it. Just leave it. We'll
Yeah.
pretend that it never happened.
Should have probably called somebody to come cleanse the house or something.
I don't know. But later, when her dad actually bought the house or whatever, he went looking for this skull and hair or whatever. It was gone. It wasn't even there anymore. So who knows where it went?
Now, I want to get back to the Henshaws and Arnold, because
Yes.
after discovering this, the skull with his hair,
He had a hard time after that.
he had a very
Yes.
hard time.
Yeah.
Nash, would you like to talk about his hard times?
Well, I was just saying, he just got kind of bonkers and started playing the organ all
Yeah.
kinds
Yeah.
of times to keep.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he was getting like just angry over
Yeah.
everything. The
Mm-hmm.
littlest things was setting him off,
Right.
and maybe like Jack in The Shining.
Yeah.
He's just getting very insane and just
Mm-hmm.
getting. But like that one thing we watched, they were talking about the girls, like their pet raccoon. Number one, pet raccoon.
They had a pet
sounds-
raccoon?
Number one. That sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But it got loose.
Those
He
are
was-
mean little guys. You don't want to.
Yeah, but
you
if
don't
you
want to
raise
mess
them
with
Well, but if
from
you
a tiny
raise
little
them,
baby.
yeah.
Have you seen their hands? They're like little. They're like
know.
little human hands. They're crazy, and they come after you too. Raccoons will come after you. They're nasty.
They're so cute.
Yeah, well, they are, but they'll come after you.
Irregardless, they had one. They had a pet raccoon, but it got out, and apparently he was just losing his mind. He was upset, yelling at his kids. Actually, I think it was his stepkids.
Yeah.
Either way, he was just going nuts. So when they did find a raccoon, he killed it
Yeah.
as punishment for letting it get out.
Right.
Wow.
So yeah, he was just descending into
Yeah.
madness.
Yeah, he was off. He was off. He was,
Yeah,
he was,
he once explained that he was playing the organ at all hours of the night to keep the demon of the house at bay.
right.
Wow.
because-
No, really?
Yes.
Yeah, so
That's what he said?
That's what I
Yes.
came across, was that he was playing it to keep the demons at bay. So I'm thinking, okay, so I come back and I'm thinking, okay, well, they had the peace pipe in the blueprints, which was in the closet before you got to the secret door that led to the bones with the with the kid with the skull and whatnot. So maybe the pipe was some kind of a warding effect, keeping the spirit at bay.
Maybe.
And
I think once they unraveled the blueprints,
yes, and they moved the pipe, it kind of let the spirit out.
or you don't think finding the skull?
Well, that could have done it too, but it could have been a multiple things.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know. If for somebody to really go off the hinges like
Right.
that, it would take. I don't know if it would take a lot. I think back in the day, people had a little bit more moxie than a little more.
So are you thinking if that peace pipe was a ward type of thing?
Yeah,
But that there was ghosts obviously earlier from the original owner,
Right.
That somebody actually went in, and the reason that when it was a rental property there wasn't a lot of complaints was because somebody had applied this ward.
right.
Somebody did this,
Kind of muted the spiritual pressure that was there.
Yeah.
And now that the peace pipe had been removed, everything was going crazy, and it went towards the dad, who was starting to just go bonkers with it.
Right.
And that's when he started playing the organ to keep the spirits at bay, and he was losing his marbles. Yeah.
Yeah, so he basically became like he had a nervous breakdown, and Ginger, she believes that it was the house that caused it for him to happen. Yeah, he went a little crazy. She actually tried to commit suicide. So he was sent off to treatment, and Ginger and her kids, they moved in with her parents. And then I found that the couple divorced when his treatment failed or whatever. But
yeah, his descent into madness also. I think his business was ruined, or he lost his job.
Yeah.
Or was it a business? But then they couldn't start paying bills, so it was getting really bad. And then that's when she called her dad to come get her.
Yeah, so the mansion was abandoned shortly afterwards, but Raymond Bober, who is Ginger's father, ended up buying it. And he was planning on turning into like a restaurant or inn.
I feel like he became obsessed with it.
Yes.
Even just picking her up and just that, I don't know if it was the property, but he had to have it.
It like drew him in or something like that.
Yeah.
The whatever force
Right.
or power like was almost feel like it was latched on to the family. Like somebody in your family is going to be here.
Right.
Because he just was compelled to buy this with grand plans.
Oh, yeah.
Just like our grand plans that we had at the pub today. Him and his son had grand plans of a restaurant hotel.
Right.
I wonder if it was looking for because the dad had lost his, had a mental breakdown and kind of lost it. I'm wondering if it was like trying to look for a male figure. And
I don't know.
Latched on. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Latched onto her dad, followed her kind of, discreetly, and latched onto her father.
I mean, I guess it's possible when he picked up, his daughter and the kids, his grandkids.
Maybe
it could have followed him home and just kind of like
you're the new man of the house kind of a thing, and drew him in.
Yeah,
the same way it did with the original father. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, so Ginger was not happy when her dad bought it. She told him like all the things that happened in there, like what she was thinking. And he was like, I don't care. I'm gonna buy it and I'm gonna turn it into this restaurant. So again, they did more renovations. So I feel like a lot of these things that happen, renovations like stir up the spirits or whatever. But it's
That's
really
what I've heard.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sanding of the floors, things like that. I could understand that.
That was the line I used in our hit show Ghost Punchers.
Yeah.
Episode 2.
Yeah.
So many people, they would take pictures to try to figure out what they wanted, how to renovate or whatever. They would take these pictures, and there would be some, random furniture that would just appear in these pictures.
Nice.
That weren't there before. So they were kind of confused about that. And then you had mentioned the room dimensions. They were always changing.
Always changing.
It was almost like, they would figure out what they want to do for that room. And then they would check the dimensions. Yeah, and they would all be completely wrong. It was almost like, they were shifting.
That made me think of like the Winchester Mansion almost.
Right.
But also photos. People would take photos. They would see a room, and then they would take photos, and there would be things in the photo that were like blinds or window dressing that is clearly not here.
Right.
But when they got the photo developed, they're like, wow, this room was tricked out with some really cool blinds and stuff like that, but that was not like it.
Right.
In fact, this one lady reported going into one of the room's bedrooms and seeing like this bed made, there was like a old military trench coat kind of draped over the bed. And then was walking around the rest of the house, came back, and none of the bedspreads, the coat, it was all gone.
Wow.
So it's almost like the house was just like in a time flux, just changing.
Yeah.
And emulating maybe, here's how it was in the 1920s.
Right.
So I don't know. It sounds like almost like it's different dimensions.
Right.
Yes.
So,
that's
real
probably
quick question with the renovations they were doing, was that just remodeling what was, or did it include adding on to it? Do you know
what? I actually don't know. But if you look at some of the older pictures, they all look really run down.
Okay.
So I don't know if they were was the house always just kind of in this? I don't know.
I don't know, but I got to imagine when the Lamont, when he was fixing it, I bet you there was time it was looking pretty awesome.
Right. Yeah. So maybe after him. That's
when
when
the Henshaws, when they were painting and doing stuff outside, I guess there's probably times it looked
Right.
It did look like the possibilities for how awesome this place can be. It's like right there in front of us, but it was haunted.
So, again, the workers' tools lots of times would disappear. People would see dark shadows. So there was a lot of people that refused to come and work on Summerwind. Now, Ginger's brother, I feel like he became kind of obsessed with the house as well. But he encountered a ghost on the second floor. So he ran down to the first, probably to go be like, oh my God, I just saw this. And he witnessed a replay of what happened to the Lamonts at the beginning of this. Yeah. So they heard a scream, heard 2 gunshots in the kitchen, smelled gunpowder, and then he saw 2 bullet holes that were in the door. So at that point, he left. He was terrified, and he left. And it says never returned, but I do have some other stuff about like hypnosis and things like that. But
Okay.
So Ginger apparently offered to hypnotize her father and her brother. Yeah.
I'm always trying to do that to my wife at home. Especially my wife and son. I could really use that at home.
Right. So she hypnotized her brother, and this dark, evil voice came from him, and it claimed to be very strong. So she believed that her brother was possessed during the hypnosis, and so she attempted to exorcise the spirit from her brother, which apparently worked.
It worked.
Yeah, I know. That's what this one article I found, they were talking about this, but now Ginger then hypnotized her father, and her father, he ended up going into like a deep like vision quest, I guess you could say. He went into the basement at Summerwind, and he found a box with a deed inside.
Okay.
And the deed was from the Summerwind property, and it was signed by Jonathan Carver. Jonathan Carver apparently was, well, he said it was an 18th century explorer in the area. So through dreams and trances and Ouija board sessions, he was able to communicate with this ghost. The spirit wanted his help locating the deed, and he thought it was like down in the basement, like maybe even like underneath the foundation. Okay. But he ended up, like, he said that Jonathan Carver said that he owned the northern third part of Wisconsin. Oh. It was deeded to him or something. Okay. I don't know. So he was looking for this deed. The ghost was. Obviously, they were never able to find this deed, but
can you own the northern third?
I don't know.
Well,
I mean, he was 18th century explorer, so I don't know if like back in that time they like deeded you or they gave you like you could buy
territory kind of a thing. Okay. Maybe.
But Raymond Bober, he wrote a book called The Carver Effect: A Paranormal Experience. This was in 1979, and he basically talked about his experiences with the house and his experiences with talking to this ghost, Jonathan Carver. But
wow, I mean, I could see a deed to a house, or even a couple houses, or even like a block, but that's a big area of land to have just a deed just randomly laying around.
I don't know. But I mean, I feel like back in that time, you could buy like large tracts of land out west.
Huge tracts of land.
So I mean, I don't think it's like out of
the realm.
Yeah. Like I think this is possible, but yeah, they never found the deed in the basement. They never found that. And they even, I think they contacted the original investor from like 1916 at that point. And he claims he does not know anything that was placed in the foundation. So.
That means not necessarily sitting in a box in the basement, because that was like his vision, was that it was in a box in the basement. But if it was in the foundation or below the foundation, that's like a Kevin Bacon What was that
Right.
movie where he went digging?
Rebecca.
There you go. I'm thinking that's what he might have needed to do.
So with Jonathan Carver, he lived between 1710 and 1780.
Okay.
So the time when which he would be exploring this area or any of that would have still been before the American Revolution. So
Okay.
he could have gotten a grant from the king,
Right.
who would have been the owner of the land type
Right.
of thing. But it wasn't a colony or anything. So it doesn't.
I don't know.
Just
fully
a big
make sense.
parcel of land kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Normally, the king would give it out as part of you're going to create a colony, you'll be the governor, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
And
I thought I came across when he passed that his family was definitely once claiming that they were heir to this land, but I didn't find anything about proof.
Right.
They had
Right.
no proof.
Okay. So it might have all been like word of mouth, like, "Oh yeah, I'll give this to you."
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
I was telling you guys about the army coat in the bed.
yeah.
I actually have here. This is exactly what was said. This was from the Milwaukee Journal, February 11th, 1985. They wrote an article about the Summerwind Mansion. An elderly neighbor, however, said that she had never liked the mansion. It did not go there. She recalled an experience when she had visited Kiefer. I saw a bed in the bedroom with a big army overcoat laying on it. And a couple of hours later, there was no bed, no coat.
Oh. Okay.
So she's
Now, Mrs. Kiefer could have ran up there and moved it.
Yeah,
well,
true.
and did that mean the neighbor was peeping on him or something?
No, I think she went. She must have went over. This was. If she's talking about, she went over to the Kiefers. That was like 1940s because that's what the
Yeah, that was in the 40s.
But she was looking into the bedrooms.
She was probably in the house having tea, bro.
Oh, she was in the house. I thought she was like looking outside through the window.
Well, you
Like-
know, I guess that's possible.
You know, being like, oh, there's a bedroom. Oh, I see a bed in there. You know?
I read it as that she went over there. But maybe you're right. Maybe she's looking in the window.
Yeah, maybe she was
That's a
outside
neighbor.
looking in, going like, "Hey, what's going on?" You know,
Why would
and never saw any of that. Saw Jack and was like, "I'm going to hang out," and then turned around and it was gone. And she's like, "Oh man, I have to try another bedroom window."
Boy.
I don't know. Who knows?
Well, this story just went south.
I know. So I don't know, like, what happened to Raymond Bober. Like, when did he give up the property, or I'm not really sure what happened.
Did it
but
get passed down on the estate, or
but it was bought by investors in 1986. And there wasn't a whole lot about that. I think they were wanting to, of course, make it into a restaurant or an inn or some kind of like resort. But it was struck by lightning in June 19th, 1988, and destroyed by fire.
Which is there's stories of whether lightning or did the town council have it burned down because they were tired of kids hanging out there doing
yeah.
drugs and,
Yeah,
and sex
yeah.
stuff.
Right. So all that remains of it to this day is chimney stacks, the foundation, and there's like some stone stairs.
Wow.
So of course people still like they go out there and they investigate just because they investigate the remains
Right,
of what's
right.
left to see if there's any kind of residual or whatever. But
Yeah, I got this from newspaper out that way, October 29th, 1995. The title of the article was Summerwind, More Ghostly Than Ever. But this was, in recent years, several businessmen bought the site for $20,000, envisioning its potential haunted bed and breakfast. The tales of ghosts were too realistic for investors to get involved, all backed out.
wow.
One of those who had invested in the restoration was Robert Skip Fole. He claims to have been clutched by the curse of Summerwind. My life has been a nightmare since buying an interest in that place, he told me. I lost a franchise business. My best friends, who co-own Summerwind with me, weren't speaking to me. I had a psychic visit. He had a psychic visit. He got out in a hurry, said it was so spooked that even he didn't wanted no part of it.
Wow.
I read that poorly, but yeah. So this guy was one of the investors, and his life sucked ever since being an investor. I think I found later in the article or another article that the guy was getting in his boat and fired it up, and it exploded.
What?
I don't think he died, but he's since being an investor, he was just having
It's been bad.
trouble after. Yeah,
Not the best.
right.
Well, and see, I came across where and it made me think of a couple of things. It says to what you were saying, Alicia, is that the house was struck by lightning. It says several times.
What?
So yeah,
I heard I didn't hear anything. I assumed one.
yeah, and that's what I thought. Okay, it was struck by lightning. That sucks. It happens from time to time, but several times. That made me think. All right, so this was already a place that would draw people in. It would draw psychic energy in that would house these ghosts. So could it be a place that it had enough energy inside of it to draw lightning strikes? I mean, I don't know.
Well, and here's the thing. There was a lot of speculation about that because there was a lot of really tall trees around the house. So they were like, why did the house get struck by lightning and not these trees?
Yeah.
Did it get struck?
Who
or
knows?
did somebody burn it down? I don't know.
Yeah, we were talking about also the curse.
Yeah.
This is, again, I just found a bunch of articles. October 29th, this is from the Quad City Times, October 29th, 1995. A realtor who once handled the sale of the terrifying haunted house picked a brick off the porch as a souvenir. While driving away, she had an automobile accident, and just last week told me she had long ago thrown that brick away.
Wow.
I think you should. I don't. Just like,
Right.
was it Kane?
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
took that brick
Yep.
Right.
from the left.
Right.
I think you got to take it back.
know.
You just leave that stuff alone. Don't take
Yeah.
it with you.
So people who visit the ruins now, they claim objects fly around the site, disappearing and reappearing. I don't know what kind of objects. They didn't
Do
specify.
we have a portal?
I know.
That's what I was thinking. That was my thought. Was what was there before?
People see strange orbs and odd shadows. Like when they take pictures, it'll show up in the photos or whatever. Visitors claim that the place attracts supernatural beings. I couldn't find what supernatural beings. I tried to see if there was like Bigfoot in the
Like
area.
Dean and Sam?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Some visitors, they also claim a strong sense of like someone or something hovering around them, like watching
Sorry about that.
them. Yeah. And
You're definitely looking at windows.
Yeah. I'm looking. I got my big my camera, my telephoto lens.
some people have recorded like voices and sounds that can't be heard by the human ear. So it shows up later, like EVPs or whatever.
Recordings. I saw where you're going with that.
I know. No, later when they're in the computer, they can pick them up. But and then the last thing I had is some late night visitors have experienced seeing Summerwind Mansion as it would have appeared at an earlier time. Like it shows up.
Oh, it's like the whole thing
Yes,
is there.
It's there.
Like a ghost ship, but it's a ghost house.
Right. But then when they come back, like the next day or whatever, it is just ruins. So I don't know what that could be.
That's kind of that's freaky.
What was
Right?
there before this house was built?
Well, that's the thing. Like listening to all this, it doesn't sound like the house is a location that is haunted, that it was built on a burial ground or anything like
Right.
that. That the house itself is like a living supernatural entity.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
Feeding off of other people.
exactly. And
Is that the house on Haunted Hill?
Yes.
Or that Netflix show? The
Yes.
house was like calling them back.
because that was the
Feeding
thing.
off
Like
of them.
everybody, you were saying, everybody who bought the place was like, I'm enthralled by this place. I can do so much with this. There's so many plans to be. It was pulling them in, and none of the ghosts. Like, okay, so the conversation came up about Native American burial ground, but yet the ghost was a woman in a white wedding dress, which
Right.
wouldn't traditionally be a Native American
Right.
ghost. So where did that come from? I almost wonder more of if it was
The house itself.
The house itself was alive and always wanted to be growing. It wanted to be expanded. It wanted to
Right.
reach out into the world as much as it could. And that as things occurred in it, it created like a temporal distortion that held those entities from before. So at one point, maybe it held a wedding, and those images may not have been ghosts, may not have even been real supernatural entities, but they were replayed through
Like
the house.
echoes or something.
Yes, yeah. And that's what people were seeing and reacting to, because none of the ghosts interacted. Like, typically if it was a ghost that was coming up the stairs and got shot at, even if the ghost wasn't angry before, it would get angry at being shot at.
Right.
But there was no reactions by the ghost. It was almost as though it was just a motion picture reenactment.
Right. Yeah. And I come to think of it, because the ghosts weren't really evil.
What are those called? Residual hauntings?
Right, yeah.
So, like, it's just a replay of
It's
whatever
just a
happened
replay.
to them.
It didn't seem like they were really trying to hurt anybody.
But in your theory, the house itself is projecting things that happened inside it.
Right.
Almost just replaying this event. So it's not, with your theory, it's not necessarily spirit. The house is what's alive.
Right, exactly.
It's just showing.
And that's why the brick
Echoes
would be
of what
so
happened
bad for that
inside
realtor, because the brick is part of the entity that is alive.
Okay.
And the house may be in a dormant state right now because it got hit by lightning. Who knows from where?
What if they start to rebuild on that property?
And you hear about, the people see it rebuilt. There. Well, it's trying to manifest itself again. It's trying to call people in to rebuild it. It's, trying to get that going. And
Did we just make a movie?
Maybe. I think so, because this is saying that it was originally renovated in 1916, but it doesn't talk about the original building of this house.
right.
Right. It was just what was it? Let me scroll all the way to the top of my notes.
Right, the Lamont picked it up in 1916. So it's like,
it was a fishing lodge on the edge of the lake, but Lamont bought it and then wanted to make it much bigger, so it was a palatial spread for his family.
So that would take
Who built that fishing lodge?
Built the lodge.
Right.
How
I
was
didn't
it
find
built?
anything like who purchased the land.
I didn't find
who
anything
built the little
either.
fishing lodge. That's all. And like if you go right to Wikipedia, that says and the article I was coming across, they're all saying the same thing. It was a fishing lodge and then bought by millionaire Robert Patterson Lamont.
And it's like, well, when it was built, was it cursed at that point?
Right.
Or
Yeah, what if Robert didn't know what he was buying? Like the land was
Right.
already sour.
right. Or he wronged somebody because of where he built it, or the materials that he used, and they put a curse on or something like that to supercharge the house itself.
Right.
Huh.
What if something with Jonathan Carver where he did have that, verbal promise that he had a lot of land, and it didn't happen, and, he dies, but he leaves something behind to curse. People find that and they build this house with something of that buried below it. That who knows what that would be, but now like he's driving, he wants to grow the house to be the top third of Wisconsin.
Okay. Okay.
This is my domain.
Like a progressive curse. It keeps getting more and more and more the longer it goes with each owner. Huh. That's a pretty complex thing for back in the day.
Yep.
Speaking of complex things, this show's going to take a quick break. And we'll be right back.
Hey there, this is JB, and if you enjoyed Tales from the Crypt, then check out my show, Tales from the Podcast, where myself, and usually a very special guest, sit down to discuss the TV show, the films, the animated series, as well as the original comics. So check me out every other week on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, and of course at talesfromthepodcast.com.
Thanks for listening, kiddies. You're all a scream.
And we are back. Hey, everybody. All right, so I want to throw this out to you guys about Summerwind Mansion.
Okay.
Now, let me get his name correct here, because I'm definitely going to... Let me scroll up here in my notes. Sorry. I'm scrolling right by it.
Scrolling.
What's her dad's name?
Bober. Raymond Bober.
Yeah.
Glad I
The Bob.
let you say. I was going to say Bubber. What's up, Bubber? Yeah. So he wrote this book, The Carver Effect, a paranormal experience.
Okay.
Now, just throwing this out there, I came across this discussion. I found it on the internet, but they were talking about it might have been a news article. So this is also the time he wrote the book, which is 1979, where we have The Exorcist.
Oh.
Okay.
So Peter Blatty wrote that book, and it became, boom, this movie. Then you got the Amityville Horror.
Okay.
Based on a book, boom, blew up in a movie. So there's some talk that maybe this guy was trying to jump on
The bandwagon.
right,
Wow.
and write this book about the supposed experiences he had at this house. So just throwing it out there just to play both sides
Right.
of the story. The timing is interesting. The fact that, like the Amityville Horror, seems a little similar. Haunted House now, his book, I think he has people that definitely love it. It didn't have the traction that the Amityville Horror did,
Right.
and obviously never got picked up into being a major motion picture.
Right.
Although I think that they've done something about this, haven't they?
Just when you talk about the experiences,
Yeah.
it sounds like some movies I've seen.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like maybe even if they didn't directly do the book to movie,
Right.
it influenced filmmakers
Right.
in some way and maybe impacted someone's horror movie.
Right. Like Ghostbusters.
Okay.
The new one, not the old one.
Oh, God.
I'm just going to let that hang out there a little bit. Yeah, I mean, what do you do with that?
Oh, Lord.
Well, maybe not that movie.
I'm just saying, there's some parallels between the movie,
Now, I did see that this paranormal investigation group in Wisconsin, they have purchased it, and they're hoping to raise money to restore, because they want to put a bed and breakfast.
No.
Man,
Quit it.
Your theory,
Just no.
as out there as it is, it makes it sound like the house is compelling people to come.
Right.
The only thing you should be doing on this property is renting a bulldozer for a day, not buying a bulldozer, renting one, and just have a beer and just mow the thing down a couple of times.
I am wondering if they're going to just build over like the foundation and stuff like that. But
No, don't build anything. Just
No.
just plow it over, put it down, put some dirt on top of it, and put a dock out there and let people fish off the dock.
Yeah, what I got here is
Down.
the current owners, Harold and Babs Tracy, along with Craig Nuring of the Fox Valley Ghost Hunters Paranormal Investigation Group. They're hoping to raise money for the resurrection
No,
Wow.
of the once grand Summerwind Mansion.
no. Don't do it.
I'm surprised they don't want to dig under the foundation to see if anything's actually buried
right, is there a deed for Wisconsin?
Right.
Would they open
Oh, maybe
part of
that's
it?
like the treasure down,
Right.
underneath the house. There could be a deed for the northern third of Wisconsin.
Yes. Yeah.
That would be awesome to find.
You know, I'm surprised no one started digging.
I know.
Yeah.
Like the
it's-
house is burned down. You could.
It's easy now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no house there.
It sounds like it's still a concrete or some other hard material as a foundation.
Oh, yeah.
You'd
But it doesn't
to
have
get
a
through.
house on top of it. Though.
Right, true.
A big house. Wow, you could do that with a sledge and a jackhammer. You gotta have the belly for the jackhammer though, because if you don't, then it doesn't work as well.
Right.
I think Craig Nuring, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. He has written books about this. He's been doing paranormal investigation for a while, so I think he's definitely, if you want to learn more about this, you can go look him up. He's part of Fox Valley. It might be the, what do you call that? The president, the founder. Fox Valley Ghost Hunters Paranormal Investigation Group, Wisconsin. Yeah, he probably would have a lot more information compared to us.
Right.
That's a really long title for a group too.
Yeah, but they probably break it down to FVGH.
right.
PIG.
That's a whole. I'm trying to think of like a shirt, with like the, with like a welcome to the. What is it?
Oh, you mean like Ghost Hunters? They were taps.
Yeah, exactly. This is what it is. The
The
HVG.
Fox Paranormal.
Fox Valley.
Oh, Fox
FV.
Valley.
Ghost Hunters.
GHPIG.
No, well, I guess they're Fox Valley Ghost Hunters.
Okay.
FVGH. Coming at you live from the haunted Summerwind Mansion.
That's right. At 103.3. Huh. Yeah, I guess you could probably get out there with some like the equipment they did in Jurassic Park, where they're doing like the sonogram of the ground underneath it.
Oh yeah.
To see if there's anything in the ground. Right. That would make sense. Drop something in there.
Yep.
Well, I think they do like campouts and they have like lectures and stuff they do there. So yeah, they're all about it, and I guarantee you'll find a lot of information. If you go, we were making some jokes about the long name, but go check them out to learn more about this about the Summerwind Mansion. Did we mention? Maybe it's when I ran upstairs, right in the middle. Did you mention that the dude, Bobber, he's the one who named it Summerwind Mansion.
You know what? I was just thinking, I never mentioned that. But yeah, it was Lamont, and everybody knew of it as Lamont, but Bobber is the one that changed it to Summerwind. So.
In his book.
Yes.
Now, I found a letter that he sent to a fan of his book back in 1982. Just got to zoom in here because, it's a little small on my screen. But he says here at the bottom of the letter, you are quite correct in assuming that Windfall is the name that I use for my house, hometown, that I use for my hometown of Granton. Summerwind was the name that I found buried by the road that enters the property.
What?
Ooh.
Whether it has ever been used is a matter of conjecture. Perhaps it had. In any event, I liked it. So he found...
A street sign?
Yeah. He found it buried by the road that enters that property, so he thought Summerwind sounded cool, so he named it Summerwind Mansion in his book.
Interesting.
But he finishes to this fan of his novel, just a bit of advice. If indeed you ever manage to get on the property there in Northwoods, use a bit of caution. Be careful of your health and your values. The book was not wrong in suggesting that strange things did happen to people, no matter what their disposition. Yours truly, Wolfgang von Bobber. That was his pen name, Wolfgang.
Oh, okay.
Wolfie?
Wolfgang.
Wow. So that was a street. That was the name of the street that it was on then, huh?
Well,
Yeah.
Or the alley or the way or something
This is
like that.
literally just a letter to a fan of the book. So that's all he says here.
Yeah.
And even him saying, you're quite correct in assuming that Windfall is the name that I use from his hometown.
Okay.
Don't know what the fan wrote to him to.
Yeah.
Right,
But
right.
Summerwind was the name that I found buried by the road that enters the property. That's so
So that means
cool.
all the way from the, 1916?
Yeah, I don't know if it was a road sign, something chiseled on a rock. I have no
Right.
idea. I just thought that was kind of interesting.
yeah.
So from 1916 up until, was it 80, 85, 82 or something like that? It was always Lamont.
It was Lamont Mansion.
Okay.
Yeah, because as far as like us talking about this, the original owner was
Yeah, his book came out in 79.
Lamont.
Right.
That's when he dubbed it Summerwind Mansion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Which definitely has a more,
has a lighthearted feel to it. It has kind of
but
a-
also maybe more movie title than
Yeah.
Lamont Mansion.
right.
You will not survive the night at Lamont Mansion.
But at the Summerwind Mansion, you think volleyball and hanging out by the lake.
Yeah.
Now just having pictures of Top Gun.
I know.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Need for speed, baby. You know what I'm saying?
Summerwind Mansion.
That's right. Come play volleyball at the Summerwind Mansion and fish in the lake.
And possibly get haunted.
And get haunted. Who knows? Almost like Crystal Lake.
Brought
kind
to
of a
you
thing.
by the Travel Council of Wisconsin.
That's right.
Anything else on this?
No, that was everything that I wanted to talk about. I actually did, so we're good.
As always, we let you know, hey, if you found this interesting, go look up information for
Yes.
yourself. There's a lot more out there that we covered. Duh. So, yeah.
Duh.
Yeah. We did as much as we could.
That's right. I'm actually thinking that I kind of missed the boat.
Actually, we did pretty good.
We did pretty good.
Yeah, I should give us a little bit more credit.
Because I did a search when I was doing my homework. It was on the Summerwind Mansion, and maybe I should have been looking up Lamont Mansion and not.
They're all pretty much interchangeable.
Are they the same?
Yeah. So like when I looked up, because I was like, oh, let me do the same thing. I'm going to look up Lamont. It's pretty much the same stuff. So
okay.
they're all interchangeable because I think everybody knows of
the people
Summerwind and
that
Lamont.
live around there. Yeah, they know.
I wonder what the history was of this place before 1916.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, for
I love
his
the fact that
maids.
this house is alive. I like Dave's theory.
Yeah, I like that
That
too.
was like that was an animated movie, Monster House. The house is kind of alive. Remember that one?
Right.
No.
And Saturday the 14th.
Yes, you do, Dave.
Have you ever saw the movie Saturday the 14th? That was
No.
a 80s.
Is Jeff Goldblum in that?
I think he might be.
I think he might be.
Yeah, that was another one where the house was alive.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So we got a Kevin Bacon and Jeff Goldblum reference
Wow.
in this episode.
Right.
Nice. We are going to move on.
Yeah.
We got some listener stories. This will be fun. I am going to kick it off here. We heard from Jacob. So Jacob says, back in July 1993, my friend Matthew and I were sleeping on the tramp. Well, I'm assuming trampoline.
Okay, thank you.
That actually would be really cool.
That would have been good.
Yeah. So back in July 1993, my friend Matthew and I were sleeping on the tramp, watching for shooting stars and satellites. Then there was a ground-level silent firework that went off. About 10 minutes later, a craft flew over them. It had 3 burnt orange lights, and it was in a triangle form. And maybe 500 or less, I don't know what the 500 means, 500 or less silent and slow. So another
Like miles per hour kind of a thing?
Maybe,
or
yeah.
meter, yeah.
My friend looked at me, and I looked at him, and we ran into the house.
Oh.
My mom was up, but she didn't believe me. But later that week, I asked my dad, and my dad was a military man, and he said, I saw the same thing.
Where
I will email all my stories. Love the podcast, and yes, I'm Team Pudding Skin.
Nice. Did he say
Thank you, Jacob.
where he was from?
No, not
Where you saw
not
that?
in this one, but funny. It's not the first time we've got the triangle again
Right.
when it comes
Right.
to these ships.
Yep.
I feel like I posted something on Twitter on our account that was showing like it was an image of all the different types of UFO sizes or shapes or whatever, and I feel like there was a couple. Not a couple. There's like 20 some different sizes and shapes.
That's it.
Once
Yeah.
you've seen one, you've seen them all.
I think it's more than 20, but yeah, like it was a lot.
Wow.
Jacob, thank you so much, and I can't wait to hear more of your stories, dude.
Definitely.
Thank you. All right, we heard from Summer. What's up, Summer? Dave is going to read this in his luxurious Hollow Earth voice.
Maybe not that, but So Summer says, I've been listening to your podcast for a long time, and I only recently thought about telling you this story that my dad has told me about a ghost that used to live in our house. According to my dad, 20 years ago when my older brother was born, it was late at night and he was trying to get him to fall asleep. My mother was downstairs getting ready for bed while my dad rocked the newborn baby to sleep. Eventually he got my brother to fall asleep, but even after that he just sat there and rocked him. After a few minutes, my dad says that a 3-foot, completely black and shadowy figure walked into the room, standing only feet away from him. Thinking it was my mother because it was dark and because there was no one else in the house, he whispered to her to leave right away because he didn't want my brother to wake up. The figure stood there for several moments before it turned and left the room. When my dad went back to his bedroom, my mother was already there waiting for him. He confronted her about coming into the baby's room even though she knew he was trying to get him to sleep. She was confused and told him that she had never been in the baby's room tonight. She told him that she had washed up for bed and went straight to their room, which is where she was now. My dad froze. He realized that when he thought about it, the figure was way shorter than my mother, and it didn't really have the sharp silhouette like other people might have. Also, the figure made no sound. The floors have carpets, but they creaked, and my dad distinctly remembers that the form made no noise. It was almost like it glided into and out of the room. Even after this, he said he's opened doors and hit something, but only to open it and find nothing. Drawers were left open, and there was a vibe that something was watching them. My dad believes it was the spirit of my grandfather, who had died only a month or two before my brother was born. I suppose that's better than a demon, because after a few years the spirit calmed down. I personally haven't seen such things in the house like my dad has, besides some things that were different than the way I had left them. By the way, my favorite podcast. Just bought a shirt from you guys.
Yeah! Sweet! Thank you, Summer.
Yeah.
First, thank you for sharing your story.
I know.
That would be intense and creepy.
It would.
For sure. Having a shadow figure, which I felt like we've discussed this several times. We've had that moment where we saw, and it's gone. We haven't seen it just those few months.
Yeah.
But also, like, I've never had that experience. That'd be weird where you go to open a door and you think something's blocking it, and then, but nothing's there.
There's
that
nothing
would
there.
be a little freaky.
That would be weird.
And thank you for buying a shirt.
Yeah, definitely. I do like how she thought it could have been like her granddad or as a protective spirit kind of a thing.
Right.
That's
Just checking up with the family.
right.
Before they
right.
pass on. I
Right.
don't know.
Exactly. I like that idea. Not some evil spirit or a poltergeist or something like that. There,
Yeah.
that it could be just something checking in, making sure things are the way they are, and
Okay. We heard from Michelle and Lish.
Okay.
Take it away.
Hey guys! I reached out to you before about my Mothman Point Pleasant experience. The paranormal just seems to be involved in my life ever since childhood. Lucky me, right? I may have mentioned before, but I live in a small town in the Appalachian Mountains of Pennsylvania. My family and I moved to a new house in town that is quite big and quite old, dating back to the 1850s. I love it. The history is so alive in this house, and I've become really fond of the welcoming feeling the house has provided me. When we moved into this house, we had no idea of the history, so I approached our county's historical society to give me any details they may have about the people that lived in the house. I want to start by saying paranormal stuff started happening here the moment we moved in. The house was vacant for almost 5 years. Suddenly, we just move in with not just our personal belongings, but also our business. The house is connected with a shop space. Doors would open and close. You could hear footsteps, the voice of a man, and that ultimate feeling of someone watching over your shoulder. It didn't feel threatening in any sense, but more curiosity. I've been touched while sleeping, but mostly by my hand, as if a child was waking up from a nightmare and asking for a parent. I do have a 4-year-old, but at this time he was fast asleep and I was fully awake in bed reading. After a couple months, the activity seemed to die down a bit. No pun intended. I have always felt welcomed in our house. For some reason, I felt as if whoever was here wanted us here to fill in the house and bring life back to it. The Historical Society gave me some great history on the place. That's pretty badass, including that the house was once the house of the founder of the trolley system in town, and that one of the sons who lived in this house joined the militia that fought against the Confederates first in battle. The one piece of history, however, put a chill through my bones. The one place that I felt somewhat sad or slightly uneasy in was the basement. I always chalk that up to the natural feeling as humans that we have towards basements in general. I don't think we like to be underground much, except Dave when he goes to the Hollow Earth.
nice.
According to records, one of the sons that lived here committed suicide in the basement by gunshot, and nobody knew why and nobody expected it. I never felt threatened in the basement, but more just sad. I feel extreme empathy toward this man that took his life more than 100 years ago. I keep thinking about the fact that nobody expected him to do it and nobody knew why. There could be so many reasons why, but one could assume that he was struggling with a mental illness and may not have received the support. And nowadays, with the help of science, we have awareness to. I don't want him to be forgotten in any way, so I've been recently combing through all the parts of the house where diary entries may have been stored, including the walls. There are so many little hiding spaces in which clues may be hidden in this house. I'm waiting for more updates on the history of my house from the Historical Society, so there could be even crazier stories these walls hold. There is a strange servants' quarters that I'm kind of intrigued by, so we will see. Thank you guys for being so awesome. I'm loving the podcast, and I love that you guys are in Pennsylvania. One suggestion I did want to make, I look into this Sally house. The Villisca Axe murder house reminded me so much of the Sally house, which is supposed to be one of the most haunted places in Kansas. I've listened to EVPs from the Sally house that has kept me up at night. Much love, guys. Keep on rocking.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
Yeah.
And right there at the end, like number one, her saying that she doesn't want this spirit to be forgotten.
Right.
And she's looking throughout the house to try to see if there's any. I was like, you mean like the Summerwind Mansion where you're going to find a weird crawl space and you're going to find a skull?
Right.
I hope not.
No, I hope not. It just started. I started thinking about, finding that weird little brick
Right.
that moves aside, and in there
Right.
is another mystery.
Well, because it seems like the spirit wants the family there, and it also seems like she's kind of paying respect back to that spirit by doing the homework and really kind of honoring each other. That sounds like a very good situation. You know, that sounds fantastic. And they have a servants' quarters too. That's pretty slick. I could go for one of those. That's pretty nice.
You moving in?
I'm just saying. I don't need much space. I'm just saying.
Yes, you do.
Wi-Fi is all we need is Wi-Fi. You know.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Hey, feel free to send us your stories. We appreciate them. We love them. We love sharing them with everybody else. ParanormalPunchers.com or ParanormalPumpers.com. I'm going to have to buy that domain now.
Paranormal bumpers.
Make sure
Nice.
it's already
Nice.
Yeah, the T-shirts are already in the works.
That would be in conjunction with another podcast, right? The broadcast.
Oh, yeah, getting pumped up.
Yes,
lifting
exactly.
weights.
Yeah.
Yes.
See?
Getting swole to
That's
fight
right.
the ghost.
That's right.
I'm with you. Speaking of T-shirts, Nash, we working on the T-shirt design for your beer.
Yep.
It's called Beer for My Bigfoot.
That's right. It looks fantastic. It looks very, very good.
Hoping to get that printed up. I'll probably have some information about pre-orders.
Yep.
Again, all that information will be on the website. And if you want to support the show, hey, we do have a store. You can get a comic book. You can get a T-shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Over at TeePublic, you can get several different designs. Just go, again, to ParanormalPunchers.com. It really has the links to all the fun things we're doing. And, check out ParaboxMonthly.com, Moses Family Jerky. What's our new spot? Sly Tom's.
Sly Tom's out in Gap. Go
Funk Brewing and Mood Duck Brewing. All these people that support the podcast.
That's right.
Check them out.
Living among Bigfoot.
Much love, everybody. Living among Bigfoot?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Sorry.
Definitely.
Forgot that.
No, I'm glad you jumped in because I forgot. I mean, no offense.
Right.
I didn't forget. I was just on a roll.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally messed my flow.
I know. I'm sorry.
I got to start all over.
But you're definitely right. Living among Bigfoot is in there too. Yes. Yes.
And every single person that listens to the show, thank you for supporting the show. Be awesome to each other. The world's messed up, but be nice, be kind. Thank you. We love you. And as always, remember, if it's not weird,
It's not worth checking out.